Elon Musk vanishes from the world, but the millionaire meets a black homeless man before goodbye. The city held its breath. San Francisco woke up to a shock so big it rattled the streets from Market to the Bay. Elon Musk, tech titan, billionaire, dreamer, just vanished. No warning, no trace. 1 minute, the news was buzzing about his latest Mars plans. The next, silence, like he'd been swallowed by thin air. But here's the twist that set every gossip mouth running. Right before he disappeared, Elon stepped off the city bus near the old docks. Not a fancy party, not a secret meeting with investors. No, he met a black homeless man named Jamal, a face nobody noticed in the rush of the morning. The man with worn shoes and eyes that seemed to hold storms. Eyewitnesses say Elon was speaking softly, looking straight into Jamal's eyes, like he saw something there, something powerful. The air between them, thick with strange energy, like an electric hum you could hardly explain. Cameras missed it by seconds. Phones dropped. People whispered, "What could he want with a homeless man?" Jamal, barely knowing Elon's name, said it was like a message passed without words. He looked scared, like someone running from his own shadow, Jamal said later, voice cracking, fists clenched against cold and fear. I didn't say much. He just nodded and walked away. Then, poof, gone. The city's screen lit up with rumors. Was Elon hiding from something? Or someone? Was Jamal part of something deeper, darker, beyond understanding? The police wouldn't confirm anything. The FBI was tight-lipped. But streets buzzed with angry shouts. How could a millionaire disappear without answers? People pushed for the truth, fear blossoming like wildfire through the alleys. Yet, Jamal's world had always been shadows. The gritty streets of San Francisco, rough nights under neon flickers, a past tangled with pain he ran from. Still, something inside him shifted after that encounter. Strange dreams hit him hard, scenes flashing like broken films, things that hadn't happened yet. Faces, places, moments that didn't make sense until they began unfolding in real life. In these dreams, Jamal saw Elon, lost in dark rooms, hunted by shadowy figures moving fast and quiet, cold enough to freeze blood. Were the dreams warnings? Doors opening to a secret jammed tight against the city's pulsing heart? Jamal felt a pull, a deep, strange connection to Musk, like they were threads in the same woven cloth. But doubts clawed. Who was he? Just a homeless man? Why would the universe pick him for this? Each night, the dreams grew clearer, scarier, like a stopwatch ticking down. A voice inside screamed, "Find Elon, protect him, or watch the whole city burn in fury and chaos." And beneath it all, a deeper truth bubbled up. Jamal wasn't as forgotten as he thought. A legendary lineage, as if history had been waiting quietly inside his blood to wake. The streets whispered, watchers gathered, and a sinister group moved in shadows, hunting for Musk and now for Jamal. Time was vanishing, the stakes climbing. Fear sucked deep into Jamal's bones. But so did a flicker, a call to rise. Where would this path end? Could Jamal survive the storm rising inside and outside? Or would the city lose one more soul swallowed whole, and the truth buried forever? What really happened between Elon Musk and Jamal that day? And what waits in the darkness beyond the dreams? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jamal felt it in his bones, that pull toward a storm brewing. The city breathed heavy, secrets lingering in the air. He didn't need dreams to tell him something was up. The whispers on the street grew louder, darker. As he wandered through familiar alleyways, warmth and hope shivered, chased away by the cold grit of fear. He couldn't shake the memories of that morning. Elon's eyes, wild and desperate, haunted him. Jamal ducked behind a graffiti-covered wall, watching the world move fast. People with purpose, their laughter cutting against the backdrop of his solitude. But there was no time to lose. He had to find Elon. The depth of connection felt cosmic. Yet how could a man like him be the one to reach Musk? Eyes wide, hands trembling, he felt like he was catching a glimpse of something profound. Then it happened. A loud crack shattered the morning. A gunshot. Screams erupted, shattering the steady hum of the day. Jamal's heart raced. Adrenaline crashed through his veins. He stumbled forward, peering out. Chaos. A crowd, huddled, faces contorted in shock. In the center of it all, a figure on the ground. It took Jamal's breath away. Elon Musk, sprawled on the pavement, blood blossoming like dark flowers on his shirt. The world shrieked in horror. Was it real? Was this happening? Instantly, Jamal's dreams of shadows came flooding back. The dark rooms, the figures closing in on Elon. Were they here? Now? He couldn't breathe, couldn't think straight. People rushed forward, officers emerging. But time felt sticky, thick. Someone shouted, "Call 911!" Hands emerged from the crowd, pointed in panic. Get him help. But then Jamal caught something. A flash of recognition in Elon's eyes. For a brief moment, it felt as if Elon wasn't lost. No, he was reaching out. Fingers trembling, he beckoned toward Jamal. Help me. The whisper barely escaped his lips, the urgency bleeding into desperation. A wave of fear crashed over Jamal, chilling him to the bone. Could he do anything? Was he the one meant to step into this madness? He pushed through the throng, people parting like the sea. Then, as Jamal reached Elon, the crowd gasped in disbelief. Musk's breathing was labored, the life draining fast. A whisper of strength echoed in his eyes. You saw. Before Jamal could respond, a figure stepped out from the shadows, cloaked in darkness. Features hidden beneath a hood. The air crackled, electric tension sparking wildly. Jamal's breath caught. Who was this? The hooded figure lifted a hand, and suddenly a pulse of energy shot through the crowd. A blast sent Jamal flying back, sprawling on the pavement. Distant cries faded into silence. When he looked up, the hooded figure approached Elon, kneeling beside him. Jamal's heart thumped painfully in his chest. "I've come for him," the figure said softly, voice steady and eerily calm. Jamal's thoughts raced. "What do you mean? Who are you?" "Everything is by design." The voice rolled over the air, promising secrets yet to be uncovered. "You were chosen, Jamal. You carry more than scars." Stunned, Jamal felt the weight of history unfurling in his veins, truth and bloodlines merging into one chaotic moment. Was he more than just a forgotten man? As he stepped forward, seeking to understand, the sky above flickered. Dark clouds began to gather, swallowing the sun, heavy with foreboding. Elon's eyes locked on Jamal. Fear mingling with something else, a glimmer of hope. The crowd around them seemed frozen, suspended in time. And then the figure turned, revealing a face that shattered everything Jamal thought he knew. Not a stranger, but someone from his past. Someone he never expected. The pulse in Jamal's throat quickened, the realization turning the air to ice. "Wake up," the figure commanded quietly, and everything shifted. The world spun with promises of answers cloaked in shadows. What lay ahead? Would Jamal find clarity in this chaos? Or was he destined to unravel mysteries better left untouched? The haze thickened, and the city faded into whispers once more. The streets of San Francisco pulsed with energy, thick with murmuring crowds and an electric tension. Jamal's heart raced. Time was running out, night creeping in, with shadows that seemed to whisper secrets. He felt it in his bones, the urgency to find Elon. But this was more than just about Elon now. It was about survival, destiny, fate. He wandered through dark alleys, each turn reminding him of that strange bond they shared. Why him? Why now? His mind spun in a whirlwind of uncertainty. A homeless man, with nothing to offer, should not be entangled in fate's intricate web. Then it happened, the moment that changed everything. Jamal turned a corner by a flickering streetlight when the air thickened. Shadows moved in closer. His instincts screamed. He took a step back, but before he could breathe, a scream sliced through the night, sharp and high. "Get down!" a voice shouted. It wasn't just any voice. It belonged to Elon. Jamal's breath cató, se drapó al tumba. La calle explotó en un caos. Una furgo negra se cortó al paro. Las puertas abrieron y desalían tanto masacres. Jamal no podía entender las cosas. «¡Run!», Elon le dijo, acostado a la calle. Los ojos se encejó en él. Jamal salió y el van encantador del aire. Él se movió. Berrotó. Jamal voló. Cendió shardos de pánico, sacando por la noche. Él se corrió con corazón potente en unísono en él. The streets, once familiar, now turned into a nightmare. "Elon!" Jamal screamed, stumbling into an alley as the men pursued. But it wasn't just the men that shocked him. It was what he saw next, a glimmer of red below the flickering streetlight. Blood pooling, bright and glaring against the gray asphalt. The realization hit him with ice-cold clarity. That was not just any blood. That was Elon's. Jamal stumbled back, eyes wide, fears cascading. Elon was hurt. The city felt suddenly suffocating, like the walls were closing in. Before he could process, two men skidded past him, rushing toward Elon. One called out, "We have to move him now! They're closing in!" Jamal's breath hitched. The urgency in their tones sliced through him. But there was more. Something else. An inexplicable feeling tugged at him. The storm inside him was raging darker than before. A vision flickered in his mind like a broken projector. Jamal saw himself on the ground next to Elon, hands trembling, not from fear, but power. A warmth surged within him, a force he'd never known. Was he meant to save him? Suddenly, the air crackled, heavy with tension. Wah! Listen. Jane the Beast creating this vision comes. It was as if the universe itself was holding its breath. And then it hit him, the shocking twist. He wasn't just a bystander. He felt Elon's pulse, their fates intertwining. Jamal was more than he thought. His lineage carried weight, a legacy that stretched deep into the city's veins. As the men rushed to pull Elon into the van, Jamal felt a call in his heart, stronger than before. He was part of something bigger, a protector. But the knowledge crushed him too. What if he failed? Jamal! Elon shouted through gritted teeth, panic flashing in his eyes. The van lurched forward, almost leaving, but the connection bound them. Jamal's world spun. He had to decide, risk everything to save a man he barely knew, or walk away, leaving chaos behind. But deep inside, a whisper echoed, protect him, or face the fury of the storm. And with that, the city trembled, as shadows gathered around them, waiting to see if the bonds of fate would hold, or if darkness would take them both. What would he choose? Jamal's heart hammered in his chest. The choice loomed large, demanding action. He stepped forward, propelled by something deeper, something he hadn't fully grasped until now. Elon needed him. In that frozen moment, the air buzzed with an unknown energy, drawing them together like magnets. Elon's breath grew shallow, but he locked eyes with Jamal, fear mingling with a strange mixture of urgency and hope. "Find me!" he gasped, his voice strained, almost a plea. The crowd pulsed with noise, chaos swirling around them, but it felt like they existed in a bubble, where everything outside faded into muted echoes. Then, the moment shattered. A blinding light erupted from the hooded figure standing near Elon. Jamal blinked against it, confusion tumbling over fear. The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath as the light intensified, shimmering with an otherworldly brilliance. The hooded figure stepped forward, casting shadows long and deep. "You can't save him," the figure said, voice steady, sending chills racing down Jamal's spine. "He's already gone." "What do you mean?" Jamal's voice trembled. His connection with Elon surged like a burning star, igniting a spark of determination. "You're lying!" But then the hooded figure pulled back the cloak, revealing a familiar face, twisted with desperation. It was someone Jamal never imagined seeing again. Rachel, his estranged sister, the one he hadn't seen in years, the one he thought had fallen into darkness. "Rachel?" Jamal stunned, grappling with the shock that knocked the breath from his lungs. "What are you doing here?" "This isn't the time, Jamal," she snapped, urgency draping her every word. "They're coming for you both. You have to!" Before she could finish, another loud crack rang out. A shot fired across the crowd. Jamal flinched, adrenaline spiking. He barely registered the chaos. Rachel's eyes, full of pain and determination, locked onto his. "Elon's fate is tied to yours, Jamal. But you don't know everything," she whispered fiercely. "You have to trust me." "What do you mean?" Jamal's world spun, confusion coiling tighter in his gut. "What happened to you?" But Rachel was gone, a blur among a sea of people and shadows. A cab skidded to a halt nearby, tires screeching. Time distorted. Slow motion, but with heartbeats rushing fast. Jamal's instinct kicked in. Another gunshot blasted through the night, and he felt the cold grip of panic. The moment surged, fierce enough to force him into action. The shadows around them shifted, foreboding and dark. "Elon!" he shouted, scrambling to reach him. But in that quick heartbeat, Rachel emerged, moving with purpose and a fierceness he'd never seen. She dashed toward Elon, hands held out, as if she could bridge the gap between life and death. "Elon, listen!" she cried, voice rising above the cacophony. "You're part of something bigger, a plan that goes beyond your wildest dreams. They're not just after you. It's about all of us. You must see." But before she finished, the ground shook. A low rumble echoed, and from the corner of his eye, Jamal saw it. Dark figures emerging, weapons glinting in the dim light. A dread coursed through him. In that instant, Elon's eyes widened, fear eclipsing everything else. "Is that true, Jamal? Am I part of something?" But there was no time for answers. The world crashed back into focus. With a glance from Rachel, his sister's resolute face pierced through the chaos. He understood. Their family history was entangled with Musk's destiny. The tragic twist was too intense, too shocking. Who was she really? Ha 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 ha! What was this hidden truth they shared? Jamal felt everything he thought he knew untangle, leaving nothing but uncertainty and urgency. "Elon, trust her!" Jamal yelled, fear clawing at him. But then it hit strongest. Something unspoken rippled through the air. Their fates mixed. A dark figure stepped into the light, its face shrouded, but familiar, throwing everything into chaos. It was a face Jamal hadn't thought to see again. As the city held its breath, Jamal could only wonder, was fate playing its hand, weaving them all together in a web far beyond comprehension? What awaited them in the shadows? As Jamal drifted through sleep, shadows wrapped around him. Dreams twisted, the lines between reality and imagination blurring. He chased fragments of Elon, silhouetted against walls of darkness, whispers curling like smoke. He felt a connection, but there was a gnawing fear fluttering in his chest. Then, like a lightning flash, cutting through the night, everything changed. He saw a light flickering, almost blinding. He lunged toward it. In the dream, Jamal stood at the docks where he'd last seen Elon. A dim glow pulsed from a nearby warehouse, beckoning. The dream pressed harder, filled with urgency. "Follow," it whispered. And against his better judgment, he did. Without thinking, Jamal found himself inside, the air thick with tension. Broken machinery loomed, casting eerie shadows. And then he saw it, the flicker of a silhouette at the back. It was Elon. His face was drawn tight with fear, panic swirling in his eyes. But then, there was someone else, a figure cloaked in shadows, lurking. Suddenly, he recognized the voice. "You're running out of time, Musk." It was cold, a snake slithering through the air. Then, all at once, Jamal jolted awake. The sudden silence of his street was deafening. He escaped the blanket's grip, heart hammering. What was that? A rare chill crawled up his spine. Had he seen something real? The dream whispered too persistently. He had to find Elon. There had to be a reason. ... Before he could process it further, chaos erupted outside. Did you hear that? Sounds of shouting echoed off the pavement. Jamal crept to the window, heart racing and his breath caught. From the depths of the night, a storm surged. Police cars, lights flashing like angry fireflies. "What are they doing?" he muttered. As he stepped outside, something caught his eye. A streak of movement. He spotted several figures in dark clothing flitting behind a dumpster. His instincts screamed danger. Voices clashed in confusion, shouting commands. And suddenly, there it was, a gunshot. Panic flooded the streets. People fled, scattering like leaves in the wind. And amid the chaos, Jamal spotted a familiar face, Elon. He stumbled, breathless and wild-eyed. There was no time to think. Jamal just moved. "Elon!" he shouted, but he was lost in the flood of bodies. Elon turned, caught in the headlights of the chaos surrounding him. For a moment, their eyes locked, and the world faded away. It was a moment, but it revealed everything. The fear in Elon's gaze, the weight of something heavy pulling at the edges of Jamal's memories. But then a scream shattered the air. Another shot. Time slowed. Everything shifted. People dropped to the ground, surging towards the safety of the alleys. Jamal felt his stomach drop. He had to act. "Get down!" he yelled, rushing towards Elon. And just as he reached out, a shadow swept over Elon, and before Jamal could react, a figure lunged forward. In a flash, the world tilted. Jamal barely processed it before it all exploded. The figure's arm flew back, and with a swift motion, a knife glinted under the streetlights. "No!" The scream escaped his lips, but it was too late. The knife plunged. Time crashed forward like a wave. A gasp echoed behind him. Jamal's heart stopped. He turned, eyes wide, feeling the cold grip of reality clench tighter. Elon staggered back, hands clutching his abdomen, blood seeping through his fingers like dark ink spilling over paper. The world felt suffocatingly still as screams echoed all around. Jamal's world shifted into a terrifying clarity. Who had the power to break Musk? Who was hunting him? And why in that moment? Did Jamal feel a strange thrum of energy in his veins? A connection, a sense of truth buried deep within him that had just begun to surface. Because things had just exploded into chaos, and nothing would ever be the same again. The streets of San Francisco felt heavier that night, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Jamal tossed and turned on the thin blanket he called a bed, the dreams haunting him like unruly shadows. Elon's face flashed behind his eyelids, caught in a whirlpool of fear and urgency. But tonight, there was something new. Suddenly, he was jolted awake, heart racing. A loud crash shattered the stillness outside. He stumbled out of his makeshift haven, eyes scanning the dim street, pulse pounding in his ears. A crowd was forming near the entrance of a run-down alley. Curious faces morphed from worried whispers to raised voices. Jamal's instincts clamored to run, but something deeper pulled him forward. As he approached, the crowd parted like weeds before a strong wind. There, in the flickering light from a nearby street lamp, lay a figure. A man in a suit, blood seeping through a white shirt, staining it crimson. He was gasping, struggling to breathe, eyes wide with terror. Jamal's heart sank. "Elon!" someone screamed from the crowd. Jamal's breath caught in his throat. This couldn't be real. The tech titan sprawled on the ground, lips moving but no words forming, loss edging close. Wasn't he just here, moments ago, breathing life into dreams? Panic rippled through the crowd, people's eyes darting between each other, asking silent questions that lay thick in the air. What happened? Someone yelled, "Is he all right?" But Jamal couldn't focus on them. He stepped closer, the smell of iron filling his lungs. Elon's eyes shifted, finding Jamal's gaze. In that instant, everything fell away. It was more than recognition. It was a connection forged in chaos, a thread vibrating wildly. "Help!" Elon gasped, blood bubbling at the corners of his mouth. A sudden twitch of realization broke through Jamal's mind. This wasn't just an accident. Then, without warning, a shadow darted through the crowd. A figure in dark clothing, gliding with purpose, eyes glinting like knives. Like a predator spotting its prey, the figure lunged toward Elon. Gasps echoed, hearts froze. "Get back!" Jamal shouted, his body moving before his mind caught up. He surged forward, tackling the stranger, adrenaline pumping like fire. But a sharp blade flickered, slicing through the night. "Stop!" The crowd erupted in chaos, bodies pushed and pulled in frantic waves. The air thickened with fear as Jamal wrestled with the assailant. Another twist of fate. But the shadow whispered something low, a name that hung in the air like a death knell. "Jamal, you have no idea who you really are." Time froze. The words sunk deep, churning his stomach. What did this attacker know? Panic flared. Jamal's mind spun, drowning in confusion. He felt a surge of responsibility wash over him, the weight of something grander, heavier than he could comprehend. Elon's struggling breaths echoed in his ears. The world around him faded. All he saw was the glimmer of hope mixed with dread. Who was he really? Suddenly, the shadow slipped away, merging into the night. Jamal's heart dropped. The chaos surged around him, screams fading into a blur. As he turned, he could feel the city pulsing like a living thing, hiding truths. Mysteries danced just out of reach. Would he follow this fading thread towards danger, or unravel the tapestry of his own life? The question burned in his mind, shadows swirling with urgency. What was driving this? And why did it feel like everything was beginning and ending at once. The night was dark, but Jamal felt the call. Something grand waited to be uncovered, and time was slipping through his fingers. Jamal stood there, heart hammering, thoughts racing. The city flickered around him like a broken movie reel. He couldn't shake the feeling that something huge was coming. Something that would change everything. The dreams felt like whispers, calling him closer to a truth he barely understood. Then, out of nowhere, it happened. An explosion rocked the street, shattering the morning calm. Glass flew, debris rained down. The air filled with panic, screams slicing through the chaos. Jamal felt his body jerk back, the force of the blast slamming him to the ground. Dazed, he blinked up at the cloud of dust settling over the once bustling street. "What the hell was that?" people shouted, scrambling away from the old docks. Jamal pushed himself up, stomach churning. The dreams, the thoughts about Elon, they all felt far away now, swallowed by the blaring sirens and shouting crowds. As he stumbled back, he caught sight of something. Amid the rubble, a figure was pulling itself out. At first, he thought it was just another victim. But as the dust cleared, Jamal's heart dropped. It was Elon Musk, dirt smeared across his face. But those familiar eyes were wide with terror. "Jamal," he called, voice hoarse. I need your help." The urgency in Elon's tone sent electric shocks through Jamal. But before he could react, a dark shape emerged from the smoke, a sleek black vehicle gliding to a stop like a predator eyeing its prey. Jamal's instincts kicked in, every nerve screaming to run. He could feel something sinister crawling in the air, an unseen presence, cold and watchful. Elon glanced back at the vehicle, fear etched on his features. "They're coming!" he gasped. "You don't understand! You're part of this!" "Part of what?" Jamal shouted, confusion twisting his gut. Then he heard it. Faint footsteps, hurried but deliberate, closing in. Shadows swirled among the wreckage, figures emerging with a calm, unsettling grace. They wore suits, dark and impeccably tailored, but their eyes shone with a ruthless hunger. "Stop!" one of them barked, pointing a sleek weapon that gleamed like onyx. The crowd froze as tension coiled in the air, thick and suffocating. The world around them felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for the first move to break the silence. Jamal felt the ground shake beneath him, a pulsing sense of danger wrapping around his heart. "What do you mean I'm part of this?" he yelled at Elon. But the questions slipped away as two of the suited men pivoted toward him. "We know who you are, Jamal," one said, voice smooth and chilling. "You're more crucial than you realize, just like him." Jamal's harpe sanko, fear gripiéndole. What did they mean? What was hidden beneath layers of his past? The dreams flooded back, the surreal imágenes flashing through his mind like haunted memories. And then it hit him. The threads of fate tangled between him and Elon. "Come with us, or watch it all collapse," the man instructed, a hint of threat behind his pleasant facade. "You'll help us protect the city, or you can stay here and be just another forgotten shadow." In that moment, ¡wow! Jamal felt el fábrico de su vida tera aparte. No fue solo un espectador de un drama millonario. Era una pieza clave en un juego que trascendía la riqueza y el estatus. Pero ¿cómo podía confiar en Elon? ¿O solo ellos fueron peones en un capricho esquema? The stakes felt higher than ever. As he glanced towards Elon, desperation etched on their faces. An explosive question hung heavy in the air. How deep did the truth go? And what dark secrets lay chained beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed? With adrenaline pumping, Jamal had to decide: step into the unknown with Elon, or run from a fate too terrifying to imagine. The choice would ripple through the city, and maybe even the world. Jamal stood there, heart hammering, thoughts racing. The city flickered around him like a broken movie reel. He couldn't shake the feeling that something huge was coming. Something that would change everything. The dreams felt like whispers, calling him closer to a truth he barely understood. Then, out of nowhere, it happened. An explosion rocked the street, shattering the morning calm. Glass flew, debris rained down. The air filled with panic, screams slicing through the chaos. Jamal felt his body jerk back, the force of the blast slamming him to the ground. Dazed, he blinked up at the cloud of dust settling over the once bustling street. What the hell was that? People shouted, scrambling away from the old docks. Jamal pushed himself up, stomach churning. The dreams, the thoughts about Elon, they all felt far away now, swallowed by the blaring sirens and shouting crowds. As he stumbled back, he caught sight of something. Amid the rubble, a figure was pulling itself out. At first, he thought it was just another victim. But as the dust cleared, Jamal's heart dropped. It was Elon Musk. Dirt smeared across his face, but those familiar eyes were wide with terror. "Jamal!" he called, voice hoarse. I need your help." The urgency in Elon's tone sent electric shocks through Jamal. But before he could react, a shadow darted through the smoke, a sleek, black vehicle gliding to a stop, like a predator eyeing its prey. Jamal's instincts kicked in, every nerve screaming to run. He could feel something sinister crawling in the air, an unseen presence, cold and watchful. Elon glanced back at the vehicle, fear etched on his features. "They're coming!" he gasped. "You don't understand. You're part of this." "Ah, part of what?" Jamal shouted, confusion twisting his gut. Then he heard it. Faint footsteps, hurried but deliberate, closing in. Shadows swirled among the wreckage, figures emerging with a calm, unsettling grace. They wore suits, dark and impeccably tailored, but their eyes shone with a ruthless hunger. "Stop!" one of them barked, pointing a sleek weapon that gleamed like onyx. The crowd froze as tension coiled in the air, thick and suffocating. The world around them felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for the first move to break the silence. Jamal felt the ground shake beneath him, a pulsing sense of danger wrapping around his heart. "What do you mean, I'm part of this?" he yelled at Elon, but the question slipped away as two of the suited men pivoted toward him. "We know who you are, Jamal," one said, voice smooth and chilling. "You're more crucial than you realize, just like him." Jamal's heart sank, fear gripping him. What did they mean? What was hidden beneath layers of his past? The dreams flooded back, the surreal images flashing through his mind like haunted memories. And then it hit him. The threads of fate tangled between him and Elon. "Come with us, or watch it all collapse," the man instructed. A hint of threat behind his pleasant facade. "You'll help us protect the city, or you can stay here and be just another forgotten shadow." Jamal's instincts warred with his mind, and before he could respond, tragedy struck again. A sharp shriek pierced the air like a knife, slicing through the tension. Then, the loud roar of an explosion erupted once more. This time, a blinding flash engulfed the street. Jamal shielded his eyes, heart racing. As the light faded, he looked around. It was chaos. The crowd dissipated in a frenzy, screams tumbling into the night. But his gaze snapped back to the figure in front of him. And that's when he saw it. The hooded figure, the one who had threatened Elon before, was standing just a few feet away. But the twist made him stumble. That figure, cloaked in darkness, pulled back the hood, revealing a face that shattered everything Jamal thought he knew. His own face! Jamal gasped. The stunned crowd fell silent, their eyes darting between the two versions of him, as if caught in an impossible riddle. Confusion and fear mixed through the air like smoke. Jamal stammered, grappling with sheer disbelief. How? The other Jamal smiled, a cruel, knowing smile. "You were always destined to be here, brother." Brother? The word twisted inside him like a dagger. What did this mean? The whole world folded in on itself, secrets bursting open like shaken cans. The reality of their situation threatened to swallow him whole. With that, the air crackled with tension. Time held its breath as the crowd waited for the next move. Would this shadow reveal the truth of Jamal's past, or plunge them all into a deeper darkness they couldn't escape? Jamal gasped, eyes wide, heart pounding. The moment hung heavy in the air. The crowd around him teetered on the edge of chaos, whispers swirling like leaves in the wind. The other Jamal, his twin, his shadow, grinned. The chilling vibe sent shivers coursing through him. Who was this man? What did he mean, brother? Brother? Jamal's voice trembled. What do you want from me? Your path was always intertwined with his, the other Jamal said, gesturing to Elon, who lay on the ground, desperately gazing up at them. You have no idea of your true potential or your history. Before Jamal could respond, the air shifted. A sudden chill rolled through the crowd, thick and heavy, like a storm was brewing just out of sight. Sirens wailed far beyond the chaos, but the sense of impending doom thickened the air. Then, an unexpected sound, a sharp crack like thunder splitting the sky. Jamal flinched, instincts screaming as the ground beneath him trembled violently. A massive fissure opened in the street, just a few feet away, sending a rumble echoing through the pavement. Dust exploded into the air like 1,000 fireflies escaping. People screamed, scrambling to get away, abandoning their little pockets of safety. Jamal took a step back, stumbling into the other Jamal, who stood firm. We have to go now! His twin yelled, urgency slicing through the panic. Just then, light erupted from the crack in the ground, bright as the sun, but searing in its intensity. It washed over everything, illuminating the chaos around them. Jamal covered his eyes, but before he could steady himself, a shadow danced in that brilliance. A figure, tall and imposing, slowly emerged from the crack. It was a woman, her features shifting like shadows, familiar yet unrecognizable. But the moment she opened her mouth, a scream tore through Jamal, reverberating in his bones, plunging him into memories he thought he'd lost. "Jamal, it's time to wake up." "Mom?" His voice was a hoarse whisper, disbelief crashing over him like a tidal wave. Emotions swirled thick, fear, hope, confusion, but the warmth of her presence halted the chaos, pulling him closer. "Your brother is right," she said, her voice both soothing and commanding. "You're part of something you can't yet see. This world is more than it seems. You must step into your true self." But the fear etched into the faces of the crowd was palpable. Jamal's heart raced, half wanting to reach out to her, and half terrified. "What are you saying? You can't be here! Jamal, listen!" She reached toward him, and just like that, the ground lurched again. Another blast of energy surged. People shouted. Cries echoed against the walls. Then everything went dark. Silence followed, thick and suffocating. When Jamal opened his eyes again, he was no longer in the street. He was standing in a vast, empty space, the shadows swirling around him. The other Jamal was gone. Elon was gone. The faceless crowd erased. "Where am I?" he gasped, breath hitching. Panic set in, along with the realization that he was utterly alone. But then he heard it, a whisper in the darkness, a faint echo of his mother. "You are the key, Jamal. Not just for yourself, but for everything. You can change the course." Change everything? What did that mean? The truth still felt out of reach, but suddenly a sinking feeling gripped him. A betrayal. No, it couldn't be. This couldn't be a ploy. Could it? Everything he thought he knew unraveled like threads. Doubts flickered in his mind, gnawing at him. Had he really known anything? Then, as if to answer him, the silence shattered. A blinding light flooded the space again, illuminating rugged shadows clawing at the corners. And in that brilliance, a shadowy figure began to form, and Jamal could only think one thing. Everything was about to change. But how could he know what lay ahead? And who would he become in this darkened world? Jamal blinked against the brightness, confusion swirling as the weight of his mother's presence faded. The darkness quickly encroached, creeping in like a predator. He felt a pull, the threads of reality tugging and weaving around him. The other Jamal was gone. Elon was gone. "Where are you?" Jamal's throat felt tight, his voice echoing in the vastness. "What does all this mean? Find your truth." The voices whispered, a chorus of soft echoes wrapping around him, urging him forward. "You must confront who you are." The shadows melted, morphing into images, a flicker of a life he never lived, a family he never knew. The memories washed over him, like waves crashing on a beach, each one vivid and overwhelming. He felt emotions he had buried deep beneath the rubble of his existence. Loss, longing, and a fierce thirst for answers. "Wake up!" a voice echoed, insistent. It grew louder, an urgent thrum that pulled him from the depths of uncertainty. Suddenly, he was back in the street, the chaos of sirens and people surrounding him. There was Elon, still lying there, his shirt stained with blood. But the panic in his eyes felt like a lifeline. Jamal ran to him, heart pounding, fear twisting in his gut. "Elon, hang on, I'm here." Elon's gaze flickered, a spark of recognition mixing with pain. "Jamal, it's all connected. They're after us. We have to run." No time to dwell on the weight of those words. Jamal helped Elon to his feet. Adrenalina surged en trujón. Together, they stumbled backward, weaving through the remnants of the crowd that had been scattered like leaves. "What just happened?" Jamal demanded, glancing back at the dark figures still lurking in the distance. "A plan is in motion," Elon gasped, gritting his teeth against the pain. "A war you didn't know existed, but you're part of it. Jamal, whoever you think you are, you're more than just a man." "What does that even mean?" Jamal felt his chest tighten with every question left unanswered. There was a loud crash behind them. The fleeing people screamed once more as another explosion rocked the ground, sending debris flying. Jamal shielded Elon with his body, instinctively pushing him towards safety. The fear was palpable, crowding the air around them. "Trust me!" Elon's voice broke through the noise. "We need to find the source!" "What source?" They both questioned in unison. But instinct pulled them onward, deeper into the heart of the chaos. They couldn't turn back now. As they navigated through fallen street signs and terrified faces, the shadows around them melded into a shape. A woman emerged just ahead. It was Rachel, her expression a fierce mix of determination and fear. "You're not safe here," she yelled. "We all have to move, now." "Where?" Jamal shouted, the disarray around them suffocating. "It's time to face the truth," Rachel insisted. Just as she reached for them, gunfire sang through the air, kicking up dirt. Without thinking, the trio made a break for an alleyway, hearts pounding as they ducked into darkness. They pressed against the cool, rough brick wall, breathing heavily. "Dot! What the hell is happening?" Jamal demanded, looking frantically between them. "Who's hunting us?" "They want us to believe we are alone," Rachel said, urgency threaded through her every word. "But they're after the legacy we carry. We've only scratched the surface of what this really means." Elon leaned against the wall, his face pale, but determination glimmering in his eyes. "Together, we can break this cycle, but we need to fight back." The shadows shifted, and Jamal felt a rush of clarity. He could feel the pulse of the city, thick with history and power, weaving their destinies closer. "I'm ready," Jamal declared, the fear melting away, replaced with something fierce. "Whatever comes next, I've got your backs." As they stepped into the light, he couldn't shake off the feeling that everything had just begun. He was no longer just a shadow on the street. He was part of a living tapestry, and the pulse of the city surged through him. What lay ahead? Would they uncover the truth they were seeking, or face darkness more profound than they imagined? But as they faced the unknown, Jamal felt a thrill rush through him. This was just the beginning. And before you go, you need to subscribe immediately. Don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories that'll blow your mind. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support us. We need to hear your reactions. So flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about this wild ending. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to experience this thrilling ride. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even a second longer.